Blog Talk Radio. Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, Executive Producer of the Female Solution Radio Show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
I'm just so delighted because I'm got a setup here that I'm really new to. And so I am delighted to be here with you this morning here on our second Saturday show. And we are excited because we have well, all of our guests are special too. But this is my first veteran. And here on the Neighborship of Joy to the World, we have powerful conversations inviting women and men to walk and talk in the light of their truth and their purpose. And so today, we're going to talk about our veterans, our American veterans. As too many of them leave active duty, not prepared to meet, our changing society. Our guest today is Theodore Sweet, who's a profile soldier. And he's on a mission to bring to light a starting revelation of an average of many of our loved ones are leaving here by suicide. In fact, 22 lives each day. And what's so amazing about this day, in the week of July 4th, I just think that's just so divinely designed. That here during this week, we have an opportunity to speak to a veteran and get a different idea. At least for myself, it's been an awakening because there were principles and privileges that I really took for granted until I got this young man on and started to realizing that I was even taking advantage. Let me say, I forgot the reverence of Veterans Day. reverence of July 4th, reverence of June 19th, the reverence of the soldiers who sacrificed their lives for the privileges of us even being able to come together here. The kind of sacredness that only the families who lose their loved ones hold dear in their hearts at this time. So this young man is coming today and has caused me to really ponder very, very strongly on what it is that I had really forgotten. I hope that you all can hear me clearly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah. So, we think about the Civil War, World War One, World War Two, Korean War, Vietnam War, and we look at war as being, and it is a horrific thing. But what we don't understand or seem to forget that there are people who are giving their lives in order for us to have the privileges that we have today. Dwight Eisenhower, who was the former president of the United States, he said this. He said, when a people value their principles, their privileges more than their principles, they soon lose them both. Let me repeat that. When the people value their privileges more than their principles, we soon lose them both. And I was thinking about what's happening here in our dear country of America and our communities and the lives that are being lost on the streets is simply because we have forgotten that everything that we have is a privilege. And when we forget those who gave their lives to us, for us to be able to have these privileges and not be able to say thank you, it just increases the lack of respect that we have for each other, and finding that spirit of patriotism, which respects life and give dignity to life. So I'm giving thanks for those of you who are joining us today, and those of you who are on Facebook. We are asking that you text in for the questions you have, or either call in 515 605 9325 and press 1 when you are ready to speak to the host. If Dr. Glavinia is here, I ask that you press 1 so that I know that you're in the queue. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to this amazing young man who I now call him my God, my spiritual son, and ask him to present himself to you and his project that he is moving forward with all of his heart. Project 22, Profile Soldier, Theodore Sweet. We're so delighted to have you and to hear more of your goal to better the standards of living for veterans, for suicide prevention, and to inform more homeless veterans about their benefits. And we are here providing that platform for you to be able to share with others this very, very vital and beneficial information to us all. I see that Dr. Glavinia has uh, made herself known here. And Dr. Glavinia, she is a minister, a multifaceted minister and pastor, and she also advocates for for veterans in her ministry. So, Brother Theodore, would you grace us, please, introducing yourself and letting us know? more about this task that God has given to you to bring before us. Thank you.
Well, thank you. God bless you, Mama Joy. I'm honored and privileged to be on this show today to speak about veterans awareness, suicide, and Profile Soldier and Project 22. First off, a little bit about Profile Soldier and something that happened to me this week. A profile in the military is when a soldier cannot perform his duty due to the fact that they're being injured. And it's a play on words that I call my company Profile Soldier, to military veterans, active duty soldiers, and so forth. They understand it. But one of the three things that you need to get a benefit once you become a veteran, once you become from a soldier to from active duty to a veteran, is you need to have an in-service event that happened to you. You have to have a current diagnosis as you are on the outside living currently at a disability, and then you need to have a connection between the two. So a lot of times in the military, they tell you not to complain, because when you complain, you'll go to the hospital, you'll get on profile. And that's needed for you to get your veterans benefits. So the one thing that's needed to get your veterans benefits is the one thing that they speak vehemently against once you're inside the military. So that's the reason why I call it Profile Soldier. It's actually a play on words. I rarely went to profile during my 9-year tenure in the military, but the fact that I did is the reason why I'm getting my benefits. I was born into the military. My father spent 30 years in the military as an infantry command sergeant major. My mom and dad's been married 62 years and counting now. I'm 56 years old, about to be 57, July 25th of this year. I'm a military, what we call a military brat. I was born into the military. Every 3 to 4 years, we would move to different cities, different states. Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Fort Benning, Georgia, Fort Drum, New York, Panama. And then I ended up in the middle of my senior year graduating in Syracuse, New York. The whole purpose of Profile Soldier is a lot of veterans do not like to complain about some of the things that are going on with them currently. And I'm trying to give them awareness, because one of the things that happen once you're out of the military, you want to kind of like separate yourself from your military service. You want to grow your facial hair. You want to grow your facial hair. You want to turn in your uniforms. You don't want to have any kind of association with the military. But the one thing that you really need to do is you need to get a copy of your medical records so that you can go ahead and start the claim process. What Project 22 is that I'm trying to go to 22 cities. Well, not trying, will be starting August of 2023. Cities in which veteran homelessness and veteran social plight is very prevalent. And then outreach to these soldiers. And what I mean by outreaching is that soldiers that do not necessarily want to come into the Veterans Administration, the Veterans Hospital, I want to go ahead and reach out to these individuals and inform them of their benefits so that they can improve their social plight. In other words, a homeless soldier become a soldier that's housed somewhere, be it in an apartment or his own home. And the whole purpose of that is that currently the way society is structured, there's a lot of distrust between veterans in the Department of Veterans Affairs. And that's because of a history of neglect and I would say transition issues that the active duty military Department of Defense needs to address with, the current active duty roster of soldiers that they actually have available to them today. So what I will do is I go to a particular city, try to enroll about 15 to 20 veterans in my particular program, just telling them of the services that are abreast out there and available to them, and then give them a cell phone with the hopes of calling them a year later and then picking up the phone. And in doing so, you know they haven't committed suicide and they're alive and well. The whole purpose of the cell phone is that something that disappeared from society a while ago has been the payphone. It used to be that you could go and walk on any street corner or any kind of building, and you can just drop a coin in or just, call collect. But due to the fact cell phones kind of like made payphones disappear. So one of the main proponents of my idea is to give a cell phone to a veteran so that veteran can be either text, called, or emailed, and him be able to contact me be able to contact him, just to make sure that we have the thumbs up, making sure that everything is A-okay. So in a nutshell, that's basically what Profile Soldier is and what Project 22 is. And that's going to be with, the 22 cities in which veteran homelessness is kind of like rampant. And I'm going to start off in the nation's capital where I live, Washington, D.C., then go to Baltimore, then go to the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. These are 3 cities that I can access without having to get onto a plane, because my disability, and I speak about that, and maybe you might show the video, is that of claustrophobia, because I was what they call an armorer when I was in the military, and I got locked in a vault once in Erzurum, Turkey, once at White Sands Missile Range, New Mexico, because I was a weapons specialist. And so we had to be in a vault, the majority of the time when I was on duty. So with that, not to be too verbose, I give it back to you, Mama Joy, and I entertain any questions that come up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, my stars. Okay, I'm sorry, I was muted here. I'm having some challenges. I've got several devices that I'm using as I'm working through this. That was amazing. And so you weren't captured. That was just part of your duty for you to be in this little closed spot.
Oh, yeah, it's called an arms room, and it's in every military installation. It's where our weapons are housed. And so what happens is I walk around with basically the equivalent of a janitor's key ring. I will open up the arms room, lock it behind me, and then go to a front door, which will have a cage, and then it'll have an open space in which a soldier can pass me an identification card, and then I will pass him the weapon that is assigned to him, be it a M16A2 rifle, which is commonly, or M4, which is what they use on the streets, which are called an AR-15. That's kind of like the weapon that you see being used in a lot of these mass shootings. They have nothing to do, they have no space, place, or reason to be in the hands of a civilian, because these weapons are actually weapons of war, and they should only be in places that I used to work in, which are what they call arms room. An arms room is a very secure environment, and what happened to me as far as being locked in one is what gave me my current condition of claustrophobia that I have today.
So that to me is something that has nothing to do about war, but just
no
training that you have that can cause you to develop certain mental conditions that are not healthy.
Right. In other words, it's almost
never thought that.
It's equivalent of a Navy soldier that's working on a submarine. They have very similar challenges, because when you're on a submarine, you're underwater for periods of 5 to 6 months, in which you can only move 100 feet to your front, 100 feet to your rear, 100 feet to your left, 100 feet to your right. And so one of the conditions that manifest later on is when you become landside, and once you dock, as they call it in the Navy, and you get out and you're amongst regular people and so forth, you kind of find out that confined feeling gives you a sense of claustrophobia or anxiety or agoraphobia or one of the any of the phobias that deal with basically a sense of confinement when you're not necessarily confined. And that can manifest when you go into a public bathroom, that can manifest when you're on the metro, that can manifest when you're sitting in a theater or a church. As long as there's one person on to the left and the right of you, that gives you a sense of apprehension that you're confined. And that's one of the issues that I have, and one of the issues that a lot of soldiers in the Navy, a lot of soldiers that work on aircraft, it's kind of like a side effect or one of the symptoms that come with military duty.
Wow. Now you've really opened up something there for me. Let me see. I got a couple of individuals here. Your mic is open. That's 8571. 8571. You have some questions? A comment you want?
Yes. Hello, Reverend Joy. This is Dr. Lavina. How are you?
Hi. Thank you so much for coming on. You know, I was so delighted when I went to your website and I saw that you had provisions in your ministry for veterans. And I hadn't seen that before. But then I realized that you too are a veteran. Is it the Marine Corps?
No, I'm not a veteran.
Oh.
I actually, no, I'm not a veteran. I served. I worked for the Department of Defense, the United States Navy, and the Marine Corps as a civilian, and also I was a military spouse for several years. So I've been around them. I was around the military for most of my adult life until I retired from the Pentagon in 2019. And so I want to really just salute and take my hat off to Mr. Theodore Sweet for his efforts with this Project 22. This is really, I believe that this is really going to be a great help to so many veterans. I still have a great affiliation with the veterans on many, many levels. I actually did one of my podcasts with, I think I interviewed 3 female veterans, and I called that program The Uncommon Heroes. So I have a real heart for veterans. So I want to thank you, Mr. Sweet, for taking on this challenge, bringing so much awareness to the needs of veterans, and especially those that are disabled. Thank you so much. Mr. Sweet, I don't know if this is so much a question as a comment, but you know, a female veteran, I asked her if there was anything that she'd like me to bring forward, you know, on the program. And she did say to me, she said that when she separated from the military in 2016, she didn't know how to file a claim. And she said her initial claim was denied until, I think she said a veteran of foreign war representative helped her with the appeal, which was successful. So anyway, I just wanted to know, you know, if you have any input for those who are filing their initial claims. And again, thank you so much, Mr. Sweet, for this powerful Project 22.
Well, thank you. Thank you for tuning in.
No, God bless you for that. I really appreciate that comment. And I'm going to address the claim process specifically, but I want to address something also in reference, because I know this show is called Dealing with the Female Solution Framework. The natural lifespan of a female versus a male in America, females live longer than men. But for veterans that are 100% disabled, the average lifespan of a male veteran is 68 years old. That's 100% disabled, which I am. because I'm 70% for claustrophobia alone. But a statistic that should alarm people, alarm Americans in general, is that a lady that is 100%, her lifespan is 63 years old.
Wow.
And so military duty affects women to a greater point than it accepts men due to the fact, and I just know this, I just give you a couple of examples. Women have always, they're the backbone of America, but all too often haven't been treated with the same equality as men in certain occupations, especially like the military. And because of that, I think those stressors and so forth shorten their lifespan once they become disabled in the military. Like, I'll give you a perfect example of, I'm just going to, this is a real talk. I'm not affiliated with the Veterans Affairs. I'm not bought or paid for by anybody. So and also I like to say this, I'm a proud 2002 graduate of Vermont Law School, and I know that I have freedom of speech allotted to me. So I'm just going to tell you a little story about how female soldiers are treated different than male soldiers to this day.
Can I just ask you to pause right now so we can get into commercial and you think about that and we get right back to it because we want to make some adjustments. This is amazing. And again, thank you, Dr. Clovania. And women's lifespan really is cut short. Horrible. But we'll be right back. So don't stray, don't go away. We'll be right back. Thank you so very, very much.
Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the
Put
global
your computer
society.
screen.
HWPL is committed
cut
to
off.
bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups.
Right.
I am Director Shinsu Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. We are a part of the online network of Associated Internet Radio hosts, On Air. On Air empowers you with transformative news and interactive radio TV shows. This is such a wonderful time to be alive and to see our human family coming together as one community as a result of that powerful tool, the internet. We can now talk directly to each other all over the world. There's no need for conflict or misunderstanding. There's no need for violence to solve our differences. We can talk to each other face to face until we reach an agreement. On Air offers a fantastic global guide to communicators from all over the world who are using their internet platform to inspire us to strive to be our best selves in order to become the kind, compassionate, loving people we were all born to be. Once we do that, we'll see planet Earth transformed into a place of peace. Subscribe to the recommended YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and podcasts created by these Voices of Enlightenment. On Air provides daily news briefs and a weekly magazine to keep you abreast of events and opportunities. On Air news affiliates in television, radio, and print share information, insight, and interviews with notable personalities. Go to OnAirEverywhere.com for a daily dose of uplifting news. We're on air everywhere, online all the time.
Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
Well, we're going to welcome you back. Welcome back to the Neighborship of Joy to the World. And our guest this afternoon is Mr. Theodore J. Sweet, who is touring the United States of America, waking up America to the awareness of caring more, spreading more love and care and attention to our veterans who sacrificed their lives in so many ways. And that sacrifice has altered their lives and how they function here in our society in America. And so he had a story that he would begin, and I want you to continue that story. And then we'll get back to some more questions. Let me know if you are ready for more questions or you want to give this story, and then we'll get to another caller. Okay?
Okay. Well, Mama Joy, what I was saying is that this is how females are treated and the kind of like the stressors. I went to airborne school, which is a school in Fort Benning, Georgia. It's 4 weeks where you learn how to parachute or jump out of planes. And what they would do is we got like a flyover, and during a flyover, you will have like about 20 jumpers jump out, and that's called a chalk of jumpers. And the black hats, they're kind of like the drill sergeants who teach you how to jump out of an airplane. And during this school, you don't take no notes. In other words, everything that you learn is taught to you is they're yelling at you. They're telling you very sternly, how to navigate your parachute and so forth, because the one thing that you cannot have is you can't refer to notes when you're jumping out of an airplane. So everything has to be in your memory. It has to be instituted to your memory. But one of the things that they would say is to make sure that everybody would have the courage to jump out of planes after we would be spending, times practicing jumping out of the 40-foot tower. When we would get into the C-130 aircraft, the black hats would come over the microphone and they'll say, our lead jumper, and that's the first person to jump out of the plane for the chalk, is a female. And what they would say, they would go, if the lead jumper is a female, and if you don't jump out of this airplane, if you land with the airplane, in other words, if you fail to jump out the airplane, you'll get an Article 15, which is military punishment. But they would say that a female is the first jumper, as to say, if she can do it, you better do it. But if you really look at it, by making her the first jumper, that was the most, since none of us had ever jumped out of a plane before, that was the most distressing thing that you could do. But they were using her to kind of like get the majority of us to do what we needed to do. So in other words, I think it impressed upon her more stress and courage than it did the ones that followed her. But I'm just telling you this, and this just is some of the, I would say, macho, male-dominated culture that the military used to be about. I can't speak about it because I ETS. I was in the military from 1985 to 94, but I know a lot of individuals who are veterans who had jump wings put on their chest. They know exactly what I'm talking about. And I know the females that jumped and jump qualified, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's just things that, and we've evolved that culturally put women under a greater stress than men, especially in the military. Excuse me, Mama Joy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mama Joy, and thank you, Mr. Sweet. Yes, I have.
I'm afraid I can't hear the question.
Yes, but she did talk about it, and I think we may have even recorded it. But that is something, the statistics as well that you gave us. It is, I believe, a tremendous amount of stress for those that serve in the military. One of the things is that they're on duty for 24 hours and they have to be basically they have to be worldwide deployable. So that is a lot of stress, but most of all, it is a great commitment that they fulfill. And that's why I'm so excited about your Project 22, because I think years ago at the National Training Veterans Institute in Denver, they talked about that it became a great awareness in the 90s that most of the homeless people that we saw were indeed in some way a veteran or connected to a veteran. So I just wanted to add that comment, and thank you again so much. Thank you, Mama Joy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so very, very much. We have another caller as well. Are you able to hear the questions and the comments, Brother Sweet?
Yes, ma'am, Mama Joy. I can hear perfectly now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, we have another caller online. Thank you so much. You know, I have never been exposed to military. I've always wanted to be a part of it. Of course, at this age, that just was a dream that just didn't make it. But these are stories that you don't hear. And what's amazing to me is that some of us really feel that unless a person goes to the battlefront, that they really haven't experienced any life-altering experiences. But here we're discussing the training and some of the situations that are part of these experiences that actually is life-altering, to the point that it can also impact upon your lifespan. And I can see the male idea of saying, "Hey, let the woman go first," and you're a chicken, or you're not a really man unless you can do that, you know. So again, for those of you who have just joined us and our board is really filling up, if you want to have a question, you want to add a question, please press the number 1 on your phone so that we can hear your question and state where you're from. I believe Dr. Govinia, you're in Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. And she has her ministry. And like I said, there's a section of her ministry that's dedicated to veterans. So please press 1 if you want to become a part of the conversation and have some questions for Mr. Sweet and his Project 22, which is a project that he's touring the nation, 22 cities with 22 daily individuals who are veterans who are taking their lives due to suicide and And that is what he's about. That preventing that, lessening that, as well as providing information for their benefits. And let's see. And so, Mr. Theodore, you want to continue? This is amazing.
Yes, I think one of the comments that the pastor had made was about claims. I want to just tell my veterans something. I want to give some information, some of the things that I wish I had known when I initially got out of the military. But if you don't hear anything I say, I want you to hear these two things. The first thing is this: to file your initial claim, no one is to charge you money of any kind. It's against federal law to charge a person money to file a claim. I don't care who you are. You cannot charge money to have a person file their initial claim. 2, when you file your claim, if you don't know what you're doing and so forth, I want you to put 3 words on your claim, and that will signal the RSVR, the VSR. These are terms of individuals who are raters who will receive your claim, and they will understand that they have a duty to help you. It's called duty to assist, duty to exist, to assist, duty to assist, ASSIST. That's a codified law under the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 38, in which all you have to do is just say you need a duty to assist. Just place those words on your claim, and the VA workers are obligated to inherently assist you and see what your intent is. Like, let's say if you're filing a claim for feet discomfort, you have to have your records and so forth. You might say, hey, I need a duty to assist. And that helps you because sometimes individuals from military service, they're cognitively may have declined. In other words, you may not be able to think as you had once you had all your faculties about you. And they're supposed to act almost, as we say in law, as a GAL, a guardian ad litem. That means you help someone to get the intended purpose of what they're trying to get. In other words, if someone say my feet hurt, they're probably trying to put in a claim for foot discomfort. It could be plantar fasciitis, it could be pes planus, it could be sinus tarsi condition that deals with the heels and ankles. I'm just throwing this medical terminology out there, but it's up to the VA to determine what it is wrong with your feet, and they can look through your records, look through your current diagnosis, and then they'll do what they say, a compensation and pension exam. Like, I give you a perfect example. 100% gets a veteran about $3,500 a month. Some of these individuals that are living out on the streets deserve to have every bit of that $500 a month. And if they come in contact with a VA employee and say that they're homeless and so forth, the VA is obligated to get them off the streets within 24 hours. So it's really a term, oxymoron, to say that someone's a homeless veteran. It's almost like saying it's a cold summer day. You know, the summer is usually associated with heat. So a cold summer day is basically an oxymoron. And I think it's an oxymoron to say that there should be a homeless veteran, because there are laws in place to make sure that none of us should be homeless.
You know, that's amazing to me. I'm totally unaware of that. I'm totally unaware of that. And that is something that all of us should be concerned about, because that $3,500 make a big difference. And to me, that, and you're saying that they will respond so quickly, is something that is what I'm saying. We need to say thank you. And I've been encouraging people to even call in just to say thank you, because we have the privileges. We have privileges, and we forget about the principles and the cost of these privileges. And it's not just the government, but it's individual lives that have been sacrificed in order for us to maintain these things. And many times we are not really grateful and we forget. So you are reminding us, even if we know the history, it's just not our mothers, our fathers, our relatives, but if we know of a person who is homeless and on the streets, a person who is a veteran and is in a dire condition and needs assistance, that because he is a veteran and been honorably discharged, that he is worthy and there are benefits waiting for him that can make a difference of life and death to him. And we should encourage and see that that benefit is gotten to him. So thank you so much. I know we had another call here, or if you wanted to chime back in, Dr. Govini, be fine. I can see that. Let me see. Oh, she's not there. She said she was coming on, but I see she's busy. She got her grandkids there. So let's. Anyone wants to have a say or speak to our brother Sweet regarding his 22 Project 22? Well, okay. Well,
if I could say this, Mama Joy, I want to give kind of like an analogy or juxtaposition of why the impetus behind Project 22, and I want to draw a direct correlation to church. On Sunday, an individual may want to go to church, but they might find that they may not have a suit, or they feel that they've been sinning a little bit too much, and they might feel that they're inappropriate to come into God's house on that particular Sunday. That's the whole purpose of outreach in a church, is that you go where the people are, you meet them where they are, and you can either minister to them or get their confession or whatever you need to do to help that particular patriot or that particular saint in their walk with God. A lot of people don't want to come into the Veterans Affairs doors, hospitals, regional office, and so forth. And that's the whole purpose of me going out, is because I've been in a situation where I may wanted to go to church, but I didn't go to church. And sometimes you might have to have somebody minister to you or give their testimony to you in a grocery store, in the gym, at work, and so on and so forth. And that's the whole impetus or the reasoning behind Project 22 is that not everybody that needs help is going to come for help. Sometimes you have to go to them. And that's the whole purpose of this. And I like to analogize it or juxtapose it to someone who needs to be saved or needs, God to hear God's word and so on. Sometimes the pastor needs to walk outside the church instead of having someone come into the church and listen to him. And suicide and so forth and so on. A lot of times, one thing that is common, if you research suicide or research psychology and death of any kind, suicide is something that usually happens during a moment of solitude. In other words, you're not going to have a person around you when you commit suicide, because that person should be obligated to stop you. So one of the things that, psychologically speaking and medically speaking, is something that kind of like amazed me, but they say being lonely is almost like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. The health benefits of being lonely are very detrimental to a person. And so that's one of the reasons why people need to look out for each other. And one of the reasons why suicide is basically the solitary taking of your life. In other words, it's usually done in obscurity, and it's usually done when where really no one else is around. It's just you and a moment of peace. And I don't want to say tranquility, because I don't believe in taking of life and so forth. I don't think a person's retrobate. I don't think God will hear from you again. But it's basically something that I think can be avoided, because at the end of the day, if you were a millionaire, if you were a person at the end of your life, and someone said they can give you $1 billion or they can give you a year longer to live, I think most people on this planet would take a year longer to live. Money or mammon isn't the root of, the root to all happiness. I think sometimes just being here, being able to accomplish your dreams and just being on earth, just living the life is important. And that's one of the whole purposes behind this, is not the success rate is someone staying on this planet. And that's the deliverable of this particular project. In other words, a year after me seeing these individuals that I encounter on the streets, I want to be able to, a year later, to either receive a text, an email, or a verbal phone call from them saying, like in the military, thumbs up, everything is A-okay.
I think that is really not only just commendable, but each day is precious. And each time that we can find an individual in that way of isolation, reminding them even of the presence of their higher power is important, to be able to get them the courage to be able to seek help. And I have another caller on 5591, and then another hand is up on a 5494. So 5591, I'll take you right now. You let us know who you are and where you're calling from. And I'm just a thought to ponder, because what I found out is my experience at this point, Brother Sweet, is that I feel that the other communities of the European are much more aware and sensitive to the needs of their veterans than our communities. And that's one reason why I am so dedicated to see what can we do to increase our awareness and our commitment as Dr. Govinia to our veterans as Black people. 5591, you have a word for Brother Sweet, please?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I'm afraid I can't hear.
Of suicide. That's one question.
Can you repeat that question again, please? Because he says he couldn't hear you, Janine. He asked that you repeat it again. He didn't hear your question.
My first question is, 22 soldiers are killing themselves every day by suicide. Is that death by suicide? It's translating what's happening in the military. That's translating such a rate high, and then with the 22 stop.
You're breaking up. Your phone is breaking up. So correct me if I'm wrong. You're asking the question, what would be some of the reasons why this number 22 soldiers or military people a day are committing suicides? What are some of the reasons that he's finding out why they do this?
I think, for 22 soldiers to be, you know what, that's okay. You could just take the next call if you can't hear. I just,
you're fine. Can you hear now?
I do some research.
Mrs. Sweet, you can hear her now, correct? Because you're clear.
Yes,
now.
I can hear her now. Yes, I can.
Yeah, your phone is clear now, Janine.
Okay, my question was, if 22 soldiers is killing themselves every day by suicide, give or take, what is happening in the military that's translating to such high rate of suicide? And then when does the 22 city tour start? That was my question.
Well, let's take the latter first. The tour is going to start in August of 2023. And it's not what is happening in the military, it's what's happening once an individual transitions into veteranhood. It's not what's happening in the military. So that's
Okay.
so that's what you got to understand. Like I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's like some background noise there.
Yeah, right.
But like in the military, one of the main jobs is an infantryman. This is an individual that goes out with a long rifle and basically defend our nation's borders. They have them in the Army and they have them in the Marine Corps. It's the bulk of the fighting force. That MOS is called an 11 Bravo. It's an infantryman. It's an individual that is a basic soldier that carries a long rifle in defense of the country. There is not a job in the civilian world that is analogous to that other than a mercenary. That means someone that hires a gun, hires somebody to do the exact same thing, but not be in the military. So what has to happen is that individual has to transition into a job that is compatible with today's society. So what has to happen is that it's almost like having an NFL football player that's a running back, and then that person plays 10 years in the NFL, then they get out. If they haven't been planning to do something other than run the football on Sundays, they're going to have a hard time transitioning. And the same thing for a military person. You know, when I got out of the military, when I was in the military, one thing that I saw, and my father actually helped me with this, he was an infantryman. So what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about under conjecture, hyperbole, guessing. I lived this life. My father was an infantryman, but he got out the military, and he is probably one of the best mechanics that God has ever put on this earth. He can fix any car on earth, but he also can fix your taxes. He was a manager at H&R Block for about 25 years. So my daddy was an infantryman, but he had two jobs that had nothing to do with the firing of a weapon. That's like, making sure that your car operates properly, as far as, being a mechanic and also being an accountant. And this comes from, this ain't something that I saw. This ain't something I'm guessing. This is something that I saw. My father is in his 80s right now, and he's been married to my mom going on 63 years.
Wow.
So this is where, so I have reason to speak on this. When I was in the military, I was a unit supply specialist. I dealt with logistics, but I also dealt closely with weapons. I'm the soldier. There's one soldier in the military that gives weapons to the other soldiers during war, during peacetime. That's the job I had. I didn't have to pull any duty. My job was weapons. And so, and having that job, I knew that I didn't want to deal with weapons when I was out of the military. So I ended up getting a criminal justice degree at New Mexico State University. Then I went and got my law degree under Vermont Law School. But I haven't shot a weapon since the 90s, since I got out of the military. And
I want to ask you, another question. Because I don't want to lose this thought either. So what I'm gathering from what you're saying is that many of our people, because now since you are a military child, a military brat, and you were traveling with your family for years, and you've experienced these things, you had a pretty good idea of how to make transition because your father did so, and he made plans for that. Being able to adapt to society. So what process are you aware of, any process that they are now having for our returning veterans? You spoke about the football players, they're finding out that their lifespans, once they leave the NFL, is short because they continue with the same diet, and they wind up, with all kinds of cardio problems and whatever. So it's really important to understand that, am I in error in saying that our men and women who leave, particularly in these areas of infantry and handling these big guns and whatever, they're not really prepared to come back into the world, into the society that we're in. Is it what I'm getting from that?
No, it's what it is this is that it's not necessarily preparation. I think the country owes a duty for this individual. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. And my brother David, if he's watching this, I know it may have, but I'm going to tell you what I was watching when I decided to join the military. I watched Rambo: First Blood, the movie with Sylvester Stallone, and it wasn't for the glamour and other parts. But let me speak on this. Rambo actually had PTSD, but during the time that movie was made in the 80s, they didn't have the term PTSD, wasn't even out. They call it being shell shocked. And so what happened was an individual that went into the military and experienced combat and so forth and came home shell shocked, or came home with war trauma, that individual was ostracized and kind of like kicked off to the edge of society, where in other words, he should have been martyred, if anything, and given all the essential medicinal help that person needed, the psychological help, and so on and so forth. One of the things that used to happen when individuals got out of the military after 20 years and 30 years, and this happened in the 90s, and they fixed it because they knew that there was a problem. Individuals used to retire, and within 1 year of retiring, they would die. And the reason they were dying was they lived such a regimented life that all of a sudden you do a life where you put on your left shoe first, your right shoe, everything was regimented. And then all of a sudden you get out of the military and you don't have no regiment, you don't have no kind of regimen to adhere to. People were like passing away, and they wondered what happened. So they they addressed it by having what they call a TAP program, Transition Assistance Program. So basically, a year out, individuals start taking classes and so on and so forth to get them a customized, or how should I say, transition into.
Yeah, you said the right word. Transition back into what updating them is to society, because things, if they've been in a while, it has changed tremendously since they went in. So that's a necessary component. We're going to be taking another commercial, and we have another caller online that's waiting for us. We'll get back to you at 55494 when we come right back from our commercials. So again, don't stray, don't go away. We will be right back with our commercials. Hey, I was heard that we didn't hear that commercial from StreamYard, so we're going to play that one again for those who didn't hear it.
Do you or your organization need space for an event? Call the Quarry Event Center at 2423.
I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata.
Oh man, God sent the monthly sun bill today. This sunlight is really expensive, especially during this season. I'll probably have to work overtime to pay it.
Well, you better pay it on time. We don't want the sun to go out and we're sitting up here all day in the dark. Wouldn't it be terrible if God charged us for sunlight? Well, thank God, the light and heat from the sun is free. So why are we paying such high bills for the energy we use in our homes? Because we don't know how to use solar energy, the free energy from the sun. You can convert your regular home to a solar energy home and save tremendously on your electric bill. Take a look at your electric bill. Wouldn't you like to reduce or possibly even eliminate that cost altogether? Let one of our solar consultants show you how. Call today, 312-849-3456, and schedule a free consultation. That's 312-849-3456. We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
Tucson Essentials leads you to wellness by giving you access to more than 20,000 sustainably produced nutritional products delivered direct to your door.
Well, all right, here we're coming back, and we want to thank you for staying and not straying away. Our guest today is Brother Sweet, Profile Soldier, and he has been giving us information on his project and his tour here of the United States. He is actually going to be launching off in August, 22 states that is not honoring, but at least calling to the attention of our society, of the 22 veterans who take their lives every day here in this country. And so now I'm going to call on number 5494. Would you please come on, give us your name and where you're from? And then if you have a comment or question for Brother Sweet, please do so. And then after that, it'll be 4953. Thank you. Could you give us your name, please? 5494. Your hand is up.
Greetings, Mama Joy. This is Beata, your holistic life coach. Thanks for playing my ad twice. I was like, did she do that on purpose? Oh, that was so interesting. But thank you, Brother Sweet. Oh my goodness, I'm so impressed with this brother being on today. And I do EFT, and I was wondering. That's my first question. Are you familiar with EFT, emotional freedom techniques?
I've heard of it, but I haven't encountered it or haven't had it applied to me. But yes, I'm familiar with it somewhat.
I need you to get closer to your mic.
I think
I was going to ask.
I'm close to the mic.
No,
can you hear me,
Brother Sweet? We needed him to get closer to the mic because I could.
Oh no, yes, I've heard of it before. Yes, ma'am, but I haven't had it administered to me. But I've heard of it before.
Okay, so that I highly recommend that as part of your protocol, your program, as a tool for veterans to release the pain and the soul damage that happens when they're in combat. Because I've been in workshops with that, and I've seen workshops presented where veterans are really helped with this tool to let go of not just the pain from combat, but the pain from their childhood. It seems that many men or women suffer with PTSD because of their adverse childhood experiences, whereas some don't suffer as much because they don't have the trauma in their childhood. I don't know if you've ever heard that statistic, but I've seen that in some of the workshops presented as a statistic. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, what is the percentage? Do you have statistics on what is the percentage of veterans in the homeless communities that you've either seen or that you've heard about? Do you know what the percentage of veterans are?
I wouldn't know, because that question is kind of open-ended due to the fact that I would have to know the locality that you're talking about. Like here in Washington, D.C., there is a there's a homeless population, and then there's a veteran population that happens to be homeless. Not all veterans, one thing I want to get very clear out here, and it would be remiss if I didn't say this, not all veterans are homeless. That is a misnomer. The only purpose that I'm doing this program is because I and my brothers and sisters, a brother or sister is anybody that was in any of the force services, that is a man or a woman. They don't have to be black or they don't have to be white. And all of us that serve, we know that we're brothers and sisters through arms. I don't think there should be one veteran. So as far as statistically, I don't think there should be one veteran that is homeless or destitute. I'm not going to, I don't want to, as far as the, ma'am?
Okay, I'm just curious. In Washington, D.C., do you know if it's 50% of homeless are veterans? I know all veterans are not homeless. I know several. I have personal friends who are veterans, and they're not homeless. But I'm just curious as to, for instance, in Washington, D.C., Chicago, some of these big cities, if you have any idea if the rate of homelessness with veterans, is it 50% or more like 20%?
Listen. I'm just going to say that the percentage is in the single digits, because if you look at it, 6% of the U.S. population are either veterans or active duty. That's 6% of the whole U.S. population. The homeless population out of that is probably about 8%. So when you're looking at the number is very minuscule. So in other words, if you have a city population like Washington, D.C., and you have a population of homelessness, let's say there's 1,000 homeless individuals. Out of that 1,000 homeless, you probably have about 30 or 40 that would be veterans, due to the fact that numerically we're such a small number to begin with. So if you see a homeless population, and this is the whole purpose of it, and this is why individuals such as Colin Powell, when he was alive, Lloyd Austin, the current Black Secretary of Defense, this is the whole purpose of it. There should not be one. So I don't want to misinterpret or misannounce and say that we're running rampant. That's not the issue. That's not the issue at all. And the issue is like, if you see a population, like let's say a homeless population in Washington, D.C., the veteran part of that population is probably only going to be 10%, because mathematically it cannot be more than that. In other words, veterans, I'm a lawyer. There's a whole bunch of other veterans in the Washington, D.C. area that does very well for themselves. That's not the issue. The issue is not one of us. No one should be left behind. And I hopefully you don't have to wear boots in this concept. But the thing is that the whole purpose of this is not to say that there's a whole bunch, there's a multitude, or there's a large quantity. It's the fact that not one of us should be there in that particular position.
And I think the bigger issue is we have a government that is continually creating wars for the profit of the military-industrial war complex. That's the biggest issue that we as United States citizens need to protest, this government's continuation of war after war to profit, not the men and women, because they're the ones who suffer, but the corporations, the contractors. This is where we need to focus our attention, in my opinion, is get this government to stop creating these war after war. And we know why, because there's money involved. And that's what I think our focus should be on another level, is stop the wars and bring peace to this earth. That's the problem, the biggest problem. They're going to continue to create wars and want to feed the military. And now they have such technology where men don't really have to fight in battles. They got drones to do a lot of that. But whatever, they're going to try and profit off a war. And I think we as United States citizens ought to be protesting this profit motive with the military-industrial complex. That's my opinion. Thank you for this show. I'm so honored to hear Brother Sweet doing this great work for our veterans.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comments as well. And we have another one. Yeah, it is. And I didn't realize, if we take into say 6% of the U.S. population is veterans, that's a very small number of people that is doing I don't even know how you would measure, or how you would call when that 6% of millions of Americans are being protected. Their privileges are being protected by just 6%. And to think that you are doing a job, and your call is like, when we look at the scripture saying the good shepherd, we don't want to lose one. We don't want to lose not one, because each one is valuable. So, wow. We really owe.
Well, but we're
people.
losing them out of greed. Mama Joy,
Mm-hmm.
Mama Joy, we're losing them out of greed. The greed of this government and the military-industrial. President Eisenhower warns us about this military-industrial complex.
Exactly.
And we have not been paying attention. So we got to stop this greed that our government is promoting by allowing our money, our tax dollars, our money to go to these corporations that promote war. Well, right here in Florida, Orlando, we have Lockheed Martin, the biggest contractor, military contractor. And I've met people who have worked at this company who were totally stressed out when they left it. They were so stressed from working at a military industrial complex corporation. So it affects people on every level, the employees who work for these type of corporations, and then the veterans who are thinking they're protecting our freedom, and what they're doing is just filling the pockets of large corporations.
And so I agree with you 1,000%. And I also believe that one of the greatest sins that we commit, along with having a corporation, is forgetfulness. we do not insist that our children are taught their civilian or citizen rights. You ask a child where, what their rights are, they have no idea. There's something that has happened in our educational system. We have failed our children to educate them in their civil rights, their citizenship rights, the constitutionalities, and to embrace America in a way that they can feel ownership of this situation. I visited Korea some years back, and I had the idea, because I knew people who were in the Korean War, and all I ever knew about Korea was that it was a war-torn place, poverty, people, the war children starving, and all these kind of things that I learned. And I never realized that, I was shocked when I went to Korea, finding the most modern places, awesome individuals, music, culture, and those individuals that I went with, many of them thought it foolish why are they bringing us here to the monument? There's a monument that honors the American soldiers who fought there during the Korean War, and we know nothing about it. And these individuals who are Americans knew nothing about it. Why are we here? And I said, well, I know some of these people because they were friends of my mom and my father. But they have not been taught. They have not been taught. They have not been honored. But I find that many of the churches in the European communities, they reverence their veterans. And now I see on the post, I went to several communities throughout this week as an Uber driver, and I'm telling you, they got flags with pictures of their young men and women who have lost their lives, and they're honoring these people. This is something that I'm encouraging us to do, because I agree with you, Beata, but we also have a responsibility to our community to have a better education of what being being an American is all about. And I'd like to take this call now from 4953. Could you please give us your name and give us a comment or questions that you would like to have Brother Theodore Sweet of Project 22 to respond to? That's 4953, please.
Yeah, this is Bianchi. Well, you probably went to South Korea. You didn't go to North Korea.
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, not North Korea.
Difference between night and day.
Yeah, we weren't right.
And
we weren't fighting there. The
reason why come to the United States have to have a strong military is because when you're number one in the world, everybody's shooting at you. And those soldiers come back with trauma because they was taught to kill. World War II was the greatest generation that this United States has ever produced. And those soldiers in between Germany and Japan went through bitter hell. Just think that you standing next side of your friend of yours, and all of a sudden around a bullets go across his midsection, his guts is hanging out, and he's trying to gather him up and put him back in his stomach and still move forward. That's the stuff that they saw. And, you had veterans over 80, a predominance of them out in California for some reason, another was committed suicide. So once you experience that, it's very, very difficult to get rid of it. And the most important thing that we're supposed to do is provide comfort and the things that they need. There shouldn't be no separate facilities or separate attention for Black veterans and white veterans. They're United States warriors, and they need to be taken care of. Right. And you had stuff like in New York where you were putting veterans out of hotels and making way for illegals. That was totally wrong. What was the outcry on that? I'll tell you something else. Taking down the statue of American soldiers that fought in the wars, Mexican-American War, including the Civil War. That there is also repugnant. Whose statue will they take down next? George Patton. So veterans need to receive all the attention that they can, and not heard. Now, Norfolk, Lockheed Martin is one of the largest employers of Black STEM graduates. Lockheed and Northrop Grumman are large numbers of young Black STEM graduates go to work for those organizations. And you need them. And they have to constantly, they cannot go out of position, because if we ever got into that point again, you can't start up a corporation, a manufacturer. They have to continue to exist, because there's factions out here in the world that want to destroy the United States. We can see it going on all the time. And if they ever succeed, you like to change a whole lot. And I really don't think people will be ready for it.
No.
I appreciate what this man is doing.
Yes.
And I wish him all the luck and be successful.
Thank you. Thank you. And your name and where are you calling from, sir?
Either calling from the Midwest or the South. Depends on what the weather is.
Well, thank you so very, very much. Here, we're proud of Mrs. Sweet and this project, and that's why we are, moving as quickly as we can, exposing his efforts, because this is something that we all should be supporting. Because I'm going to use his coin: not one veteran should be left behind. Not one be left behind. So thank you very much. Okay, I have an 8743. You have a comment for Mr. Sweet? All right, should I just ask you to just hold for a minute, please? And we have another commercial. Sorry about that. We these are people who are paid, and so we want to have another commercial time. And this will be the last one for because now we have a half hour. And just hold tight. Would you do that for us, please? Okay, thank you very, very much. Okay. I tell you, this is really good. I'm so happy that you all are here with us, and we'll be right back.
Jody Susan of Susan Essentials is certified by the #1 functional medicine doctor on plant-based healing essential oils, which are revolutionizing the way we manage our well-being. Schedule today to take control of your health.
Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us.
Tune in to Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear great topics and stories on grief and turn it into victory. Join Dr. Debbie Green to listen to stories of triumph and learn how to overcome. You are not alone in your life, and there is hope in the darkest hour. This is your time to learn strategies and solutions to improve your life. It's your time. So join Dr. Debbie Green with Soulful Solutions and call in on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 515-605-9325 with comments and questions. Look to hear from you real soon.
Have you ever dreamed of going to exotic places, meeting fascinating people, enjoying uplifting music, and spending nights in a luxurious hotel? Do you look forward to a relaxing vacation where you can walk along the beach or sit in a quiet park and enjoy the sunset or sunrise? Whether you're flying around the world or driving across the country, we will share travel tips that will help you stay safe while you enjoy the journey. Join me every third Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and move around with Deborah here on the Female Solutions Show. Call in and comment 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif. Join me and my co-host Kareem Hamid every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Female Solution Radio Show as we explore that relationship that is the foundation for our society, the relationship between men and women, husbands and wives. Join our discussion as we seek to repair broken family ties and rebuild our community. Listen online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to our host. Or you can join us live on Facebook at www.facebook.com/the-female-solution.
We want to thank you and welcome you back to the Neighborship of Joy here on the Female Solution every second Saturday. And our guest is Brother Theodore Swing, Project 22. I want to thank each and every one of you for staying here with us and giving your questions and comments on your thoughts of this project that he has he's embarking upon. And I like this, not leaving one behind. So, what our last caller, did you have any comments that you wanted to make on that other sweet? As he was complimenting you on this and also giving us some graphic, pictures of what some of the military people experience.
No, I really appreciate his phone call. But I want to say something about the military just in general. A lot of times, a lot of emphasis is put on combat. I'm going to tell you a story about a man called General David Petraeus. He was one of our major generals in the Iraq and Afghanistan war. He culminated to being a CIA director, but then extramarital affair took him out of running to be possibly one of our next presidents of the United States. But the thing about David Petraeus is that he spent over 16 years in combat. On our dress uniform, on our right arm, every 6 months you get in combat, you get a hash mark, like a little stripe. He has hash marks going from his elbow to his wrist. This man lived in combat. But David Petraeus never was injured in combat, but during training, when we were qualifying soldiers with an M16A1 rifle, he was shot in the chest in Fort Benning, Georgia. And a general by the name of General Jack King came over and basically saved his life by applying a compress to his chest and basically waiting for the medics to arrive and to basically administer further life-saving measures to General David Petraeus. So what I'm saying is this: a lot of times people like to talk about the wars and so forth that go on and whatnot, but this is a man who was a warrior by any definition, but he was injured more gravely during training than he was in actual combat. So that's what I don't want to get lost. And I know a lot of veterans right now around the country happen to be listening to this. They're clapping at it. Don't glamorize war. A lot of times people see war and so forth and so on. And most people that have been in war don't like to talk about war. Most people that deal with weapons don't like to touch weapons. That's the reason I haven't touched one for a long time. So I just say that to say that this isn't just for combat veterans. This isn't just for veterans that's deployed. All of us help all of us. It's just like a boxer going into a ring to fight someone. The sparring partner, he takes all the hits that nobody sees so that this other guy can punch someone where everybody will see it. So I just wanted to say that, and I really, really, really appreciate, that all the callers' comments, because change in the government always comes from outside the government. So Mama Joy, what you're doing is God's work, because if you want to change Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense, Commerce, Homeland Security, and so forth and so on, you usually can't change it from within, because a lot of times your voice is suppressed. In other words, you'll get fired if you say certain things about your government. But you have the freedom to say what you want. You're afforded the freedom of speech. They can't prosecute you for that. And a lot of times they will hear programs such as this and institute changes. So God bless you for giving me this platform to speak. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for honoring us with this information and your energies here. So I'm going to ask 8743 for your patience. Thank you for your patience. You're making a comment now. 8743. You give us your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. My name is Shatoya Aylor, and I'm calling from Richmond, Virginia. I was invited to listen by Dr. Glovina Williams, and I'm a first-time listener. And so, Mama Joy, thank you so much just for this segment today and Brother Sweet, because it's very good information, very valuable information. And I want to thank you for taking the time to address the duty to assist on the claims, because I witnessed firsthand as a veteran. I'm a U.S. Army veteran with 15 years of service. And I witnessed firsthand, even with just going through filing the claim, how hard it was for me to get a disability rating that would warrant the injuries that I sustained during the military. And I've also witnessed how my battle buddies have struggled with receiving a VA disability compensation and have been denied repeatedly, which have led to major depression, dealing with chronic illness, as well as being unable to sustain the quality of life that they had while serving in the military. For example, housing and medical care, just those things like that. I'm now working in Richmond as a mental health case manager. And I've also seen that in our catchment that we're dealing with a housing crisis. And there's a lot of homeless veterans. And Brother Sweet, I thank you for making the comment of saying that, the VA has a responsibility to provide housing within 24 to 48 hours. And I don't want to misquote you. And so my question is, what is that mandate that the VA have in order to provide housing assistance to the veterans who are at risk of losing their housing or dealing with being homeless?
It's a beautiful question. First off, thank you for your service. And a lot of times it's sometimes called a hidden benefit. You will sit there. Let me just give you a couple of my thoughts on this, and then I want to address what you said specifically. Department of Veterans Affairs is the only government agency in which you call on the phone and they say, if you're thinking about suicide, please call this number, and then they give you a number to call. Why did they do that? They do that because they know that through case studies, through psychiatrists, through psychologists and so forth and so on, they know that a person's at their wits' end when they're stressed, especially when they're thinking about things that happened to them and when they're thinking that they should be doing better than what they should be doing because a recruiter sat there and said that they would be living a good life, happily on ever after they leave the military service. It's codified into law that when you call the VA, and the number is 1-800-827-1000, 1-800-827-1000, 800-827-1000. If you're a veteran, you can call that number. And then they'll ask you what it is you're calling for. Just keep pressing 0, and that'll get you into the hands of a call representative. You tell that individual that you are homeless. The VA is obligated to have someone. They have what they call, very similar, not similar to what I'm doing, but they have what they call an outreach specialist that is supposed to contact you and either put you in a shelter or in a hotel, whichever one is which. It used to be hotels during the time of COVID due to the fact that they couldn't commingle individuals as they could in times where there wasn't a communicable disease such as COVID-19. That is what they're supposed to do. So if you know someone that's homeless and they don't want to be out on the streets and so forth, tell them to call that number, tell them to say they're homeless, and they should take it from there. See, a lot of times what ends up happening is that you think you got to have your DD-214, you got to have your ID card. No, you don't have to have any of that. That's the reason why the VA has put in there a duty to assist, because sometimes individuals don't have their cognitive ability or where that is useful to them. What I mean by that is that if you haven't showered in 10 days, if you haven't ate in 10 days, you haven't bathed in 10 days, you haven't had anything to drink, you don't have money in your pocket. It's been scientifically proven that you're not going to be able to make good decisions as you would if you were in your right state of mind, if you had a shower, you had a roof over your head, you had hot food in your stomach, you had drink in your belly. All of those things, all of those what they call essentials. If you had all those essentials, you're going to be able to make good decisions. If you don't have those essentials, you're not going to be able to make good decisions. That's the whole purpose of the duty to assist, because they know that the veterans at certain points in time are going to be at their wits' end. They're not going to be cognitively appropriate. And that's the reason these workers are supposed to be there to help them. There's something that I really want to say, because Mama Joy, I know this is a female solutions show. And one of the problems that the military had historically, hopefully it's not that problem now, has been military sexual trauma. And that usually happens with a man traditionally assaulting or sexually abusing a female. And a lot of times that wasn't addressed in the military because sometimes the individuals that were assaulting them were in their chain of command. And military chain of command is very, very important. But I want to tell you ladies something, and this is something, educational piece from Profile Soldier that I like to put out there. Sometimes an individual cannot prove that they were sexually assaulted or raped by an individual because it wasn't recorded or anything of that nature. There are certain things in law we call are markers. And this is how you can prove that you were assaulted, even when you don't want to actually say who did it or certain things of that nature. Say you start to lose weight. Say you start to get in trouble. Like, let's say you were in the military and all of a sudden you start writing bad checks because you've just been assaulted. Say you start to lose weight. Say you had a disciplinary action. And the other caller know what I'm talking about. Let's say you had an Article 15. If you can sit there and you can say that I was assaulted around this point in time, and you don't want to name the individual because the individual may still be in the military. And I'm sitting here, I'm saying this. What I'm talking about is real. This isn't hyperbole or something that I'm guessing. This has happened a lot of times before with a lot of women where they don't want to name their attacker because of fear of reprisal or retribution, revenge, and so forth. But if you say that, hey, look at my records. I've started to write a bunch of bad checks in 1996, and I said my rape happened in 1996. The military is obligated to use those things that's called markers, and that can actually prove that you were assaulted without actually jeopardizing, your livelihood or your safety by saying that this man did something or this woman did something to me back in the day, and then have that fear of reprisal. Because there's a whole bunch of things called statute of limitations, where basically meaning you're supposed to report a crime within a certain time frame from in which it could be criminally prosecuted. But as far as veteran benefits, there are things called markers, such as when you start to get in trouble or you start to go on leave or AWOL or things of this nature. These are markers which can validate the fact that you actually had someone assault you, and you can go ahead and get your benefits. It's just an end around way to get your benefits, because the military is much like civilian law. And we have this thing in lawyers is that we say, it's not what happened, it's what you can prove. It's not what happened, it's what you can prove. And a lot of times you can prove these things through paperwork, through markers, which in law we would call circumstantial evidence. It's not actual evidence, but it's circumstantial evidence, meaning it happened in or around the same time frame in which you said your assault happened. But that's the number one things that women, would like to get a claim for if they happen to be, unfortunately, a victim of MST, military sexual trauma. That's one of the ways in which they can prove some of their incidents because it's a physical violation, but it manifests itself as a mental health violation later on. So
that's a good policy for women, period, or anyone, because many times they're suffering through, these kind of change in behavior and not recognizing even themselves that they're suffering.
Right.
Mentally. So this is a great tool or means for others of any, knowing that if you're assaulted and if you're not able to have it addressed, it's going to cause some altering of your behavior and how you handle your affairs. So this is valid. I think we're going to have now your video of your commercial with I think it's a
PenFed Credit Union.
PenFed, yeah, PenFed member. Okay, thank you. For those of you who are there watching on Facebook or StreamYard, they'll see it. For those of you who are on the audio, you'll hear the voice. Thank you. We don't hear it. We have the sound. It's muted. We have a video. You have to mute it. Unmute it. I mean, we can't hear it. I hope we're able to do it. We've got about 10 more minutes. If any one of you are here, we have a number of callers who are on the line now, and you can press 1 so that your hand can go up and we can continue with our conversations. Our caller from Virginia, how was your, Brother Sweet's response to your question and thoughts? Anything additional you want to bring forth? That's 87.
No, ma'am. I just.
All right, thank you.
No, ma'am. I just think, Brother Sweet, I could answer my question. It was very great information, especially the last piece dealing with military sexual trauma. Thank you, because those are things that I did not know that I now could pass along to my battle buddies who are struggling with certain sexual traumas that they sustain in the military, as well as being denied repeatedly. Now to go back to ask for their help because it's their duty to help. So thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you for sharing. And I know you're probably going to mention it, but what are some of the ways that we can follow your movement?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Well, well, through LinkedIn, I'm not really a user of Facebook. I'm on Facebook also, but on LinkedIn under Ted Sweet, TEDSWEET, Washington D.C. If you link up with me there, I will definitely connect with you, and we'll become connections and so forth. And like I said, I mean this with the bottom of my heart. An individual that served in the military, any one of the armed forces, I look at them as my brother or my sister, like I do my literally blood brother or sister. And the thing about it is, I'm willing to help, no money involved and so forth. Because like they say, and I honestly believe that some of the best things in life are free.
Well, I also want to thank. And with that, we say thank you again. We say thank you again. And now we are getting ready to close out. And we're going to ask that Naima can move that off for us. Thank you, Naima, for showing that to us. And we're going to move forward now, close out. Thank you, Naima. So we're going to be closing out. So any parting words? I want to give that number again. If you encountering a situation that you need assistance, that you dial in 1-800-827-1000 and keep pressing 0 and let them know that you are homeless. And someone is to be responding to you within 24 or 48 hours and making sure that you have a place to stay. Also, Brother Sweet is going to be launching off his Project 22 in August. And I'm going to ask that please feel free to let us have your itinerary. Okay, I see a call here, 0002. Your hand is up and you got about 30 seconds. I'm so glad to have another hand, but you will be our last person. So may I have your name, please, and where you're calling from? That's 0002. Your mic is open. Okay, well, the mic is open, and so we're not getting any response from there. So anyway, thank you. We don't know if you stepped away or whatever, but thank you. Okay, so what are our parting words? What is it that you want us to know?
Mama Joy.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, this is Reverend Rosemary, your co-host, calling in.
Oh, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, so
I apologize for not getting in on the call, but it was really a very good, very informative and interesting show. And another reason I was calling in was to ask for the repeat of that number, but you gave it. It's 1-800-827-1000.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Well, thank you. Well, thank you for calling in. And I know I've seen the number up there for a while. I wasn't sure if it was you or not, but thank you for putting your hand up. And Dr. Glovinia was with us earlier today, and the young lady that you spoke.
Yeah, it took me. I was at a memorial service, and it took a little longer than I thought. And I'll talk about that later.
Okay,
but I
great.
really
we appreciate that. We're going to close out. We're going to close out right now because we don't have but a few seconds. We're going to close out. And I want Brother Sweet to have those last parting words because we only have a couple of minutes. And then we're going to move on out. So, Brother Theodore, any parting words? This is Ms. Rosemary Bookstein, who couldn't be with us today. So we appreciate her chiming in at this point.
Well, Mama Joy, Miss Bookstein, thank you both for having me. I really, really, really appreciate your platform more than I can honestly verbalize. I really, really appreciate it. A lot of times, when I was trying to figure out how I was going to get my word out there, it seemed like the Black female community basically stepped up and held me down. And I really, really appreciate that. Mama Joy, I like to say this from a veteran, to you, thank you for your service, because what you're doing is instrumental in the betterment of society and humanity as a whole. And a lot of times that's going to come from people that aren't in uniform, that aren't in government agencies.
90 seconds.
But you're just as instrumental. So God bless you. I love you. I really appreciate the time with you.
Well, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much for giving us something to shout about. We certainly encourage each and every one to walk in the light of their own truth and purpose that God has created them. And we encourage you, Brother Theodore Sweet, to continue shining your light and being a blessing to many and be a part of that decreaser in the suicide deaths of men and women who've dedicated so much. And even the training, it seems as though even that has caused issues too. So we just thank you so very much. And thank you and for being a part of us. And again, send us an itinerary so that we can share it with our network so they'll know where you're going to be in this 22 tour, American tour across the country, okay?
Yes, ma'am, I will do. Thank you, Mama Joy.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. And may you be safe and prosperous everywhere.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.